Living in alignment with your values is a gorgeous intention that definitely pays off. It leads to greater life satisfaction, happiness, contentment, and confidence in what you choose to do for work, how you choose to spend your time, where you've chosen to live, and other really big life decisions. But making decisions and living a life aligned with your values takes extra energy, and so many of us are overwhelmed as it is. So my goal for today's video is to help you identify just 2 things so that you can make decisions quicker and easier while living in alignment with your values and goals. Plus, near the end of today's video, I am sharing one mindfulness practice that I use to keep this simple 2-thing system up to date without adding another task to your task list or more time to your already happy schedule. So here we go, 2 things to make those decisions easier and quicker, and one mindfulness practice for weeks and years to come. The first thing that will help you to make decisions quicker and easier is to know your values. So let me share how to do this and then what it looks like when you apply this in real time. If you'd like, simply Google search values and you will find many lists that list a bunch of values that some people qualify as values. And that's a great starting point for you to identify the things that you really care about. If you'd prefer the positive psychology route, I will provide a list for you taken from Peterson and Seligman's Values in Action Classification of Strengths. So this is the VIA Strengths Finder that some of you may be familiar with. And yes, it is strengths. However, today, again, keeping this simple, this is one way to look at values or to identify the things that really are important for you. Peterson and Seligman talk about the VIA Strengths Finder as a list of the strengths of character that make the good life possible. When you look at the list of VIA strengths, you'll see that in the first column are the virtues. And they define the virtues as the core characteristics valued by moral philosophers and religious thinkers. These include wisdom, courage, love, justice, temperance, and transcendence. Within each of those virtues are the strengths, which they define as distinguishable routes to displaying one or another of the virtues. For example, the virtue of wisdom can be achieved through strengths such as curiosity, love of learning, judgment, creativity, and perspective. So I have this chart on the screen. Feel free to pause this video. And again, this is meant to be simple. Take your best guess, identify what stands out to you as things that matter to you, and identify 3 to 5 as your, for now, top values in life. So what does this look like in action? I know that one of my values is curiosity and personal development and growth. This may be obvious because coaching and making videos like this for you is the work that I choose to do. So there's one decision that I can bolster my confidence in because I know that one of my values is absolutely being represented really strongly in my line of work, and therefore in how I spend much of my time. Knowing this value has also made decisions easier for me in my intimate and personal relationship life as of late. Tyler and I have been starting wedding planning, and there's a lot of conversations that have come up. And with us, because we tend to be such intentional individuals, these conversations tend to take some time and some energy to really sort out what each individual is caring about, is wanting, and needs to express to the other. Whenever I find myself at a crossroads, to enter this conversation, to dedicate the time and energy needed for this conversation, and or hiring extra support, so my therapist or a couples therapist, I feel really confident to choose the pathway that honors the value of curiosity and of personal growth, which includes our relationship growth as well. Without me highlighting that value, I may be less prone to enter those conversations or to invest in the support that's required for this personal growth and relationship growth to occur. Another example is my value of fairness, equity, and specifically empowering other women. Because I see a lot of areas in our world, unfortunately, where women are not treated equitably, I use my awareness of this value to make confident business decisions. For instance, who I hire to edit my videos. Hi, Diane. Also, the coaching offerings I create or the individuals I choose to share my speaking engagements with. When faced with the choice of who to serve or who to hire in my business, it is easy for me to remember my value of female empowerment and equity and make choices based on that. And that simplifies my decision and makes them easier without sacrificing, but in fact honoring my values. The second thing that will help you make decisions quicker and easier while living in alignment with your values and goals is to know your current priority. And I really challenge you to identify your single priority. So how to get this started and what this looks like in real time. First, how to get this started. Just like knowing your values, you can do a simple Google search and see what different areas of life you can prioritize. You'll likely find lists that involve your career, your finances, your physical well-being, your mental health, relationships, or your physical environment. Some of you may recognize these assets as things that were listed on the wellness wheel, which is a positive psychology concept I introduced a few videos back. I'll put an image of the wellness wheel on the screen right now. You can pause this and note that this is just one of many wellness wheels. So you can also Google search wellness wheel and then use that as a way to choose what section of this pie you feel like is your top priority right now. And once you've identified that, what this looks like in real time to help you make decisions quicker and easier is that when you are faced with a decision that involves this priority, take your best guess and follow whatever pathway will help you prioritize that priority. It sounds simple because it is, but without this filter, sometimes we can feel like a decision is really hard or feel like we have to analyze every single decision, when in fact, if we have already tucked in our back pocket or we already have top of mind, this thing in my life right now is my priority. Whenever we're at a crossroads, we already have a status quo way to go that isn't compromising what is actually best for us, because we've already taken the opportunity in this moment right now by watching this video to reflect with what your true priority is. So you get to make an easy and quick decision based on your personal priorities, not based on what someone else is telling you you should do, or maybe even the pressures that you're putting on yourself that day. So in recent videos, you've heard me talk a bit about how I am really prioritizing my friendships as of late. So what this looks like when applied is that if a friend is asking me to do a Zoom catch-up call, I will cancel a lot of things or really rearrange my day to make that call happen. Whereas historically speaking, or in other seasons of my life, I may be less prone to be that flexible with my time. I am also intentionally seeking out and committing to different activities that involve fostering new friendships. So in the past, or in other seasons of life, if there's an opportunity to meet new people, I may be less prone to use that extra energy or to dedicate my evening to this activity. But currently, in this season, I have been saying yes far more often and with far more confidence because I know that's my priority. Another example that happened just last week is a friend texting me and saying that they were going to be in our hometown last weekend. I hadn't originally planned to go home last weekend. However, when I got this text, because I knew this was my priority, I immediately jumped into action, rearranged my schedule, made sure it would work, and when it did work, took the required steps to change my plans and visit home next weekend. And although this did take energy and time and some rearranging, all the while I felt confident about that decision to go home and to use that energy and to rearrange my schedule because I was honoring my top priority. So what is yours? What is your top priority in this season? Knowing that that priority will evolve with time and in different seasons of your life. By identifying this priority, you can help yourself to navigate decisions when you have to choose one thing over the other, or when you're presented with white space and how to fill that white space. You already know what you're wanting to prioritize, and that eliminates at the minimum a lot of different options so you can focus in on what's important to you right now. And the bonus mindfulness practice I promised. This is what I use and apply alongside these two things I shared with you today to keep this simple system up to date. What you do as you're enacting and after you've enacted your decision is stay aware and extra mindful to how you're feeling and the results that came because of or alongside your decision that is in alignment with your priorities and values. How are you feeling? What are the outcomes expected and unexpected that came on the other side of your decision? If you made any sacrifices or compromises, do those feel worth it? So here's what this mindfulness routine looks like in practice. I'll use what I shared in the priorities section of today, my decision to go home last weekend and visit friends. The mindfulness started as I was making that decision. So as I was rearranging my calendar, communicating to other friends that I was going to be in town, talking with my parents about visiting this past weekend instead of the one I had originally planned. What I took note of is how easy it was, how surprisingly easy it was to rearrange my schedule, especially when, historically speaking, I've tended to not want to rearrange my schedule if at all possible. I noticed this past weekend it was actually quite simple to rearrange some things, and it actually in the end worked out better for my schedule and some other commitments I had made. I stayed mindful as much as possible as I enjoyed the weekend, enjoyed time with friends, took note that I actually had the opportunity to see quite a few friends, and then on the other side of this decision, specifically when I was driving home from my visit with friends and family, I took just a few brief moments to ask myself, was that worth it? Was rearranging my schedule, making the drive, spending extra time that I hadn't originally thought I was going to spend with friends and family worth it? And part of this question involved me just checking in with how I was feeling. And I was feeling fulfilled. I was feeling really energized and happy and content and confident in that decision that I had made. I'll add on top of this, the Monday after I came back, I was pretty stressed, but even in that moment of stress, I asked myself, was that still worth it to go back and prioritize friendships? And the answer was yes. So that added even more data into my back pocket that next time I'm faced with a decision to choose to value and prioritize friendships or not, that my best guess, pretty confidently, is to prioritize and value and make time for my friends and family. So that's how you can apply this in your own life, to not only have your values and priorities as these filters for you to make decisions quicker and more confidently and more easily, but also as you're making those decisions and on the other side to check in and see, how did that feel? What was great about it? What might have caused some stress? And then use those observations as data in your back pocket so that you can make the next decision that's parallel to that one even quicker and easier. So this simple system, 2 things and that one mindfulness practice, will help you to make decisions quicker and easier without sacrificing value-aligned living. With this foundation that you have created today just by watching this video and reflecting with these questions, you too will be able to make decisions with intention without so much thought and effort that leads to the spiraling or procrastination, or just choosing an alternative path that doesn't feel good for you. As a recap, the 2 things are to know your values and know your current priority. And then the mindfulness practice is to pay attention as you enact your decisions on the other side of those decisions to see how they're feeling. Part of the inspiration for today's video was a conversation that was had in my group coaching program, the Yes and Experience. One member brought up that she and her husband were reflecting recently about whether or not they were currently in hard mode. This evoked a lively conversation amongst the group about what it means to be in hard mode, how we got to that place to begin with, the beliefs we hold around choosing the harder way, or what it means when we choose an easier path. We also talked about how some seasons in life just present us with harder things. We may feel more overwhelmed because there are kids in the house that weren't there before, or maybe work is extra demanding at this time. As a group, we discussed that sometimes when life gives us a season of greater challenge or simply requests more of our energy, we have extra permission to turn on easy mode in any other area of our life that we can. And as today's video and practices outlined, that doesn't mean we have to necessarily sacrifice our intentionality, our values, and our goals. Maybe that means we can just find a way to enact them in a simpler, more efficient, and less stressful, overwhelming, thought-provoking way. These are the types of conversations we have inside my group coaching program, and we would love you to join us. I'm offering a free 14-day trial for you to jump in on some of these weekly calls and immediately get access to 3 different wellness challenges that I host within my group coaching program. Each of these challenges focus on a different area of life, from work to how you spend your time or money, fostering fulfilling friendships, and adding fun and play back into your life. I share bite-sized practices to implement and shift each of these areas in your life one little step at a time so that it's manageable, so that it stays fun, and so that you can stay consistent over time. All of this is backed by what I've learned in positive psychology for how to create, foster, and nourish your most fulfilling life. If you're interested in learning more, or you're ready to dive right in and try this 14-day free trial, click the link I have in the description. You can also leave a comment on this video or send me a message via email or on Instagram, and I will personally reply to you and answer any questions you may have. If for whatever reason you are not quite ready to jump into my group coaching program, then watch this video next. I mentioned this in the middle of today's training when we touched on the wellness wheel, these different aspects of life that you can focus on to foster greater flourishing and greater fulfillment based in positive psychology. And that's all for today on Yes and by Mara on YouTube. Thank you for joining me for another Tuesday video, and I'll see you next week.